My favorite semi-astronomical site are the Pyramids of Giza. These popular tourist attractions are much more than they seem. Although there are many mysteries about these structures built in ancient Egypt, there are some interesting theories that may be true, especially in the astronomy realm. The site's purpose was tombs of the three ancient pharaohs, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. Pyramid origins started to honor great rulers or pharaohs. But the pyramids of Giza have something special about them other than their sheer size and historical significance. The pyramids of Giza may have been built with astronomy in mind. So, what really were these pyramids and why were they built? The pyramids were developed when pharaohs wanted to sort of one-up each other. While early pyramids were just one layer, they slowly began to gain more and more levels until eventually the pyramids of Giza arose. The pyramids were tombs that housed the dead pharaohs in order to honor them. Inside the pyramids of Giza consisted of many different components. The interior burial chamber is built of huge blocks of granite. The entrance to the Great Pyramid is on the north side, about 59 feet above ground level. A sloping corridor descends through it in the interior masonry and penetrates the rocky soil which the structure rests and ends unfinished underground chamber. Although not seemingly very astronomically based, there's also another feature inside. Two long narrow paths come from the center of the king's chamber, sloping upward until the outside edge of the pyramid, where there are two small holes. There are two theories for these narrow paths. One is that there is oxygen holes, which doesn't make much sense because the dead don't need oxygen to breathe. The other is that they were for astronomical observations. Two researchers from Virginia Trimble found that one of the shafts seemed to be aimed generally in the direction of the North Star, which would have been at the time when the pyramids were constructed. The other shaft is generally pointed towards Orion's belt. This is an interesting theory, although the shafts would not have been ideal for astronomical viewing due to their rough edges and very general orientation. Another astronomical feature comes from the Pyramid of Menkaure. According to astronomy.com, the sunset on the winter solstice falls above the Pyramid of Menkaure, as seen from the Great Sphinx of Giza. This is very interesting considering the Egyptians had a 365-day solar calendar, meant this may have been on purpose. Aristotle was an ancient Greek philosopher who was one of the oldest and greatest contributors to philosophy and science. His most famous piece, Nicomachean Ethics, was the building blocks of modern physics as well as other important scientific and philosophical ideas. But today we're going to be taking a look at one of his other pieces called On the Heavens. This book was focused on mainly one topic, ancient astronomy theories. On the Heavens, also known as Dikaios, was written in ancient Greek 350 BC. This book is mind-blowingly accurate about celestial objects and how they move for the period of time in which it was written. It is a foundation for modern astronomy and beautifully displays many correct scientific theories about the movement of celestial objects. For example, on page 4, there is a diagram showing a representation of his theory of elliptical motion, stating, while generally admitted case of contrary opposition, that upward and downward motion rests at a contrary opposite of places above and below, no such ground can be suggested for the opposition of circular and rectangular motion. This explains elliptical motion does not have an up or down, which still holds true to this day, according to modern day science. Another accurate diagram shows up in Book 2, which states, if these bodies were continuous with the heavenly body, they would have to move with the same motion as it. This is partially true because according to Isaac Newton, in his piece, General Scholium, all celestial objects follow the same motion and laws in space. As Newton's General Scholium states, and celestial spaces above the Earth's atmosphere, in which spaces where there is no air to resist their motions, all bodies must move with the greatest freedom. The planets and comets will constantly pursue their revolutions in orbits by the mere laws of gravity. As seen, this quote shares similar aspects to Aristotle's quote on the heavens. Most notably, the comment about the continuous or constant motion. Many other diagrams show up in this book in which are astonishing to see because it looks like something you would see out of a physics or astrophysics textbook today. What stands out the most is the sheer amount of information and lengthy explanation. Scientific views pretty much were not a thing outside of Greece in this era, and the amount of information is astonishing in this book. Although the book is based on geocentric beliefs, many early theories of physics in which the planets move are somewhat correct. In Book 3, line 300, he states, "If then the rest is natural to it, clearly motion this place is natural to it. If, on the other hand, rest is constrained, what is hindering its motion? Something which is at rest. But if so, we shall imply and repeat the same argument, and either we shall come ultimate something to which rest it is, or we shall have infinite process, which is impossible. The hindrance of its movement, then, we will suppose, is a moving thing, as it could not move infinitely, for to transverse of an infinite impossible, and impossibilities do not happen. So, the moving thing must stop somewhere, and there rest not by constraint but naturally." This lengthy quote is a rough outline to what would become Newton's first law of motion, which states, "Every body preserves in its state of rest, or of uniform motion in the right line, unless it is compelled to change that state of force, impression therion." Thinking about that is truly amazing because the Principia was written in 1687, roughly 2,000 years after Aristotle's book on the heavens. Overall, Aristotle on the heavens is truly the most amazing and important piece of astronomy and physics, and generally science.